Why is Vasundhara Raje's son an MP? Because he's Vasundhara Raje's son. And I can give you several examples of MLAs, etc. In fact, the ADR report says that the highest number of nepotistic kids, apart from the top leadership, is in the BJP. If you remove the top cream, the rest are in BJP also over 50% nepotistic kids. That is a problem, even in the Honorable Prime Minister's cabinet, by the way. So that even the BJP is not against it. And if the BJP is so against nepotism, why does it take all the nepotistic people from Congress into their party? Why does it do an alliance with nepotistic regional parties? You know, I saw it in one episode of Karan Johar's show, where one young actress said her struggle was that her father never got to come on Karan Johar's show. So look, I understand, because what level ही thinking की वो है ना, वो बेचारे, वो struggle ही है,
उनका struggle ही
वही struggle है. अब वो उस बेचारी की गलती नहीं है, वो उस बेचारी का struggle ही वो है. I know one person who was very upset. Nepo kid, politician's kid. क्या हुआ यार, बिजनेस क्लास में सीट नहीं थी. अब वो उसका स्ट्रगल है बेचारे का, क्योंकि उसको लाइन में खड़ा रहना पड़ा, उसको प्रायोरिटी बोर्डिंग नहीं मिली, उसको इकोनॉमी में जाना पड़ा. वो उसकी स्ट्रगल, दैट्स अ रियल स्ट्रगल. बट कैन दैट स्ट्रगल बी इफेक्टिव इन अ कंट्री लाइक इंडिया? That is what we have to accept. There are people who are ready to go in a bus holding that flag. Why is that kid not getting an opportunity? That is the question that is to be asked.
Are countries in South and East Asia fed up with Nepo kids in politics? That's the question that Manish Tewari raised in a tweet. He said, he referred to the recent revolutions in Nepal, Sri Lanka, Philippines, and of course his tweet put the cat among the pigeons because BJP latched onto it pretty quick, thinking that he was referring to Rahul Gandhi, even insinuating as much. Now, Manish Tewari has since withdrawn, saying that his tweet had nothing to do with Rahul Gandhi per se. The tongues are, of course, wagging as always, and that's what we're going to talk about with Tehseen Poonawalla on Trending with Tehseen today. Tehseen, Nepo kids in politics, your view?
Fun fact. Manish Tewari himself is a Nepo kid. Absolutely. His father was a member of the Rajya Sabha. Of course, his late father then passed away and he was assassinated. But Manish is himself a Nepo kid. So, two ways of looking at it. Every time this word Nepo kid comes up, there is an attack towards the Congress party. But nepotism in Indian politics is a serious concern for Indian politics, and it's not just the Congress. It's every single political party, including the BJP, which by the way claims to be a party of difference. Nepotism runs high in Indian politics, and that is a problem.
So, nepotism runs high in Indian politics, that is a problem. Rahul Gandhi, however, has become the poster boy as far as the BJP is concerned because of their huge campaign and huge presence on social media. So, Rahul Gandhi has become that one thing. But Manish Tewari, if he didn't, why rake up an issue like this? Did he get cold feet after putting out the tweet? What happened?
I don't know. I don't know Manish very well. I know that when he was the INB minister, people say that in 2014, and then he had to contest the Lok Sabha elections from the constituency he was then elected to in 2009, 2014. He wanted to contest from the constituency he's currently an MP from, which is Chandigarh. So he didn't contest from there, and he unfortunately fell ill, was hospitalized, didn't contest the election, and then came back. But that's a past thing. So I don't know how much cold feet Manish gets, because I know that in an election, people in Congress say, sources, that Manish got cold feet in 2014 and didn't contest the election. And of course, he says he was hospitalized, so whatever that fact may be. Look, the fact is this. It's easy to punch the Congress. It seems that the Congress is the only nepotistic party in the country, but that's not true. Nepotism is in all parties, and I'll tell you, there's a slight difference between the Congress, BJP and the other political parties. Both the two main national parties, Congress, BJP, let's assume the Gandhis, right? Because the Gandhis control the Congress. Even then, the Gandhis can't really get everything done in the Congress until they go through the CWC, and same with the BJP. The BJP can't really get anything done till it goes through its parliamentary committee. So there's some sort of check and balances, not the most, but there is power control. But the biggest problem, according to me, is the regional parties. All regional parties, irrespective of what side they are, India Alliance, NDA or independent, are basically family-run parties, family-run firms. And you look at it, Chandrababu Naidu and his son now Nara Lokesh, you look at KCR, KTR, they Kavitas out now. You look at the Stalins, you look at the Badals, you look at the Omar Abdullahs, you look at the Muftis, you look at across the Sangmas,
The Yadavs.
The Yadavs in Bihar, even Nitishji's son, as per many people wants to contest. It's become a family-run business, and that is a terrible thing for Indian democracy. It is terrible because all of these people are just there taking charge of that political party because they are kids of the people they are born to. And all Nepo kids, whether the ones in BJP or the ones in Congress or the ones in regional parties, will always have one common story. Oh, we struggled very hard. We are not the Nepo kids. हमने तो इतना साल पार्टी की सेवा की है. This is a standard line across all Nepo babies, across all political parties. The thing about Nepo kids is every Nepo kid thinks he's not or she's not a Nepo kid. The other ones are, and they've worked hard.
But then they all are, isn't it? Because in other sectors, also, because it's not just in politics, in other sectors, in Bollywood, for instance, or in cricket, for instance, every sector has their set of Nepo kids there. But the market forces sort of rule the roost there. India mein to aur bhi hota hai, because if you're a doctor, then your son becomes a doctor, your daughter becomes a doctor, lawyer, so you follow in the father's or mother's path. But if you're not good, the market forces ease you out. And I can give you a litany of names in Bollywood who've, producers, sons and daughters, and even in cricket, Sunil Gavaskar's son, for instance. But if you don't perform, then you are weeded out. That's not the case in politics.
Yes. So a lot of times people tend to, and I'm so glad you brought this up. A lot of times people tend to make this mistake of saying, but Bharat mein to aisa hota hai ki doctor ka doctor, beta doctor banta hai, lawyer ki beti lawyer banti hai. That's okay. They may inherit that practice. They may get that practice in an inheritance. But the market forces don't stop another lawyer from coming up or another doctor. And eventually you may take your father's or Papa Darling's business practice or whatever. But if you're not good enough, then the market forces will ensure the other doctor, say there are two ENTs, one has inherited the father's practice as an ENT and the other is a new upcoming ENT. But if the son or the daughter ENT is not as good as the father was, or dentist is not good as the father was, ultimately the patients will go to the other doctor who's there. You cannot prevent somebody from becoming a doctor. But in politics, what happens is the only reason you get that political ticket from that constituency, whether of an MP, an MLA, a corporator or a panchayat member, is simply because daddy darling or mummy darling was an MP or chief minister. Period. You are the lucky person who's won the race and become and been born to that parent. Therefore, you get it. There, the market forces don't apply. It is impossible for somebody else to get a ticket. Let me take BJP's example, because BJP claims it's not. Against Basuri Swaraj or against Anurag Thakur. Let's take Jyotiraditya Scindia when he was in the Congress. He got the ticket from after his late father Madhavrao Scindia ji passed away. His sons inherited BCCI. The market forces don't allow somebody else to come in. That's not the case in
other
business.
Professions, yeah.
You could be a journalist's son or daughter, but there could be a equally better journalist, and you may not have, because there was a dynastic Nepo channel at one point, which is now fortunately doing very good business. I like that channel now. That channel only had Nepo kids. Ultimately, that channel never got the ratings when the market forces opened up and other channels overtook it, including your sister channel. Yeah. They all overtook that channel. And today, those Nepo kids who occupied that space are out of work, and those who started off, say, with YouTube or with other avenues are doing better. Look at even the YouTubers. They may not get the opportunity because they're not Nepo kids, but they're running the roost.
Right. Because the market forces are at work. How do you... Politics. So meritocracy has a way of coming in. I mean, I remember Mithun Chakravarti's son, for instance. He got a leg into the door, but because the people did not find him as appealing as Mithun Chakravarti, he did not get those many opportunities.
Let's look at business. Let's look at business.
Business, yeah.
Dhirubhai Ambani had two sons, Mukesh Ambani and Anil Ambani. Both should be nepotistic kids. Yet Mukesh Ambani is super successful, whereas Anil Ambani completely lost everything. Now both had the same opportunities, the same businesses, the same father, the same genes, and inherited a lot of wealth. At one point, Anil Ambani had more wealth than Mukesh Ambani. And yet, it was sheer market forces talent and hard work, where Mukesh Ambani is where he is and Anil Ambani completely collapsed. So yes, even in a nepotistic society, as to say, there can be a Mukesh Ambani who's super hardworking and talented versus an Anil Ambani who completely squanders everything given to him on a platter.
So, if this happens, and this happens, as we said, across professions, but this doesn't happen in politics. And therefore, meritocracy is not able to play a role in politics. How do we get that? Because I think if we get there, because the nepotism will happen, but how do you eventually make it not matter as much that a person is being given 50 chances despite not performing, despite not being seen to do what he needs to be doing?
So look, again, another argument made is, look, even in the United States of America, which is the most first democratic nation in the world, or the oldest democratic nation in the world, etc., there is the dynasty. Yes, there is. The Bushes, for example, the Kennedys, for example. However, the system in both the Republican and the Democrat parties are that you have to go through a primary to get that nomination, even if you're the son or daughter of whoever you are. That should apply at a local level and at a national level in our political parties. So, if you want to contest an MP election, you should go through a primary where the registered members of that political party, the BLAs are a lot in talk now, will elect democratically who your candidate is. When that happens, that is when you are eligible to contest. So keep that open. Let me give you examples of the Congress now. Okay. The Congress in Patna gave Shatrughan Sinha a ticket. Shatrughan Sinha was 3-4 time MP from the BJP. So he then had a fallout with Prime Minister Modi. He comes to the Congress gives them a ticket. Fine. I don't know why. You could have given your Karyakarta. They gave his son also a ticket to contest an election. Why? They gave Sharad Yadav's daughter. Where are they today in the context of BR election? Where are these two Nepo kids? What are their contribution to the Congress? Why did the ordinary Karyakarta not get the ticket from these constituencies? So what I am trying to say is, unless the system is not opened up, where the actual Karyakarta votes for who his or her candidate is, this system will always be flawed and will only increase. Nepotism will increase because corporator will want that his or her daughter becomes the corporator. The MLA will want his or her daughter becomes the MLA, and the MP will want that for his child. The chief minister will want that for his child, and that system will improve. So the ticket at the local level must be decided by the voters of that political party who are registered, and that election should be free, transparent, televised, if not televised, at least on online. And that should be a process that should be monitored by the Election Commission of India. That will weed out half of these incompetent kids.
And will perhaps take our politics in the direction of meritocracy rather than I am here because my father was here or my mother was here. But having said that, to do this, you're proposing a very radical change. We'll need an amendment in the constitution, election commissions nod, but more importantly, political will. Do you see that political will anywhere?
No. You think, let's take off all our political parties, because if it requires a constitutional amendment, it requires the state assemblies to ratify it as well. Do you think Stalin Sir's son, Stalin Sir, will accept it because Udaynidhi Stalin is deputy chief minister today? Do you think Chandrababu Naidu will accept it because Nara Lokesh has taken over? By the way, Chandrababu Naidu also is not first generation. He's the son-in-law from.
Yeah.
Right? So again, that's nepotism. You think KCR, KTR will accept it? You think the Yadavs will accept it? You think the Badals will accept it? You think the Abdullahs will accept it? You think the Muftis will accept it? There was a very funny thing that happened in Parliament where, and by the way, again, I'm just putting it out, BJP is also nepotistic. But there was a funny thing where they said that, listen, BJP is still not elected its president. What is going on? You're the world's biggest party. And Amit Shah ji turned around and said, अरे हमारी पार्टी में तो इतने कार्यकर्ता है तो समय लगता है. आपकी पार्टी में अगले 5 जनरेशन के लिए आप चुन सकते हो कौन आपका अध्यक्ष बनेगा. आप तो 25 साल के लिए अकेले जी अध्यक्ष बन जाओ. कोई आपको रोकेगा नहीं. Because what's happened is all these regional parties have become family-run businesses. All of them. Look at TMC, Mamta ji, Abhishek Banerjee. And again, Abhishek Banerjee in his head will have struggled, would have revived the party. So it is just the way it is. They are there because they are related to that family. And that is not good for democracy.
How about, you repeated several times that BJP is also nepotistic, but you see, in comparison, I'm not saying that there is no, but in comparison, because they have this system of Karyakartas and RSS and the linkages back, do you think there is less nepotism in BJP versus the
At
other
a top
parties?
level. At a top level, because you can't say who the next BJP president will be after Nadda ji. So to that extent, the RSS then comes in. But what you can say is, the BJP also has its inherent flaws. What you can say is the next RSS president will be from the next BJP president will be an RSS man, and RSS will approve him. Period. So there is another kind of politics there. But is it nepotism? There is nepotism in the BJP at the MP level, MLA level, Karyakarta at the booth, at the panchayat level, etc. So that nepotism does exist in the BJP. Why is Vasundhara Raje's son an MP? Because he's Vasundhara Raje's son. And I can give you several examples of MLAs, etc. In fact, the ADR report says that the highest number of nepotistic kids, apart from the top leadership, is in the BJP. If you remove the top cream, the rest all in BJP also over 50% nepotistic kids. That is a problem, even in the Honorable Prime Minister's cabinet, by the way. So that even the BJP is not against it. And if the BJP is so against nepotism, why does it take all the nepotistic people from Congress into their party? Why does it do an alliance with nepotistic regional parties?
Because between you and me, I think a certain level of nepotism is there in every party, as you're pointing out. However, BJP perhaps has less of it at the top level. That's what you're saying. So, but how do we get rid of the problem? How there is a problem, you're acknowledging the problem, you've suggested a solution. That solution can only come from political will. But there is no political will to that.
Shooting themselves.
So, what next?
So the next is the Gen Z and the younger generations will have to demand a pound of flesh. When I interact with a lot of politically aware youngsters, sometimes late into the night, thousands of them. You've been to one of them. And these are direct people talking. And you see the pain and the angst they have. There's so much, and you've heard some of these conversations. They are such talented people who have such knowledge about a variety of subjects. They can speak on these subjects. They can actually bring effective change. Why are they relegated to second or third position behind kids who have no knowledge, who live in a la-la land, who've been brought up over fine cheese? And I'm not against it. I would want it, but why aren't the struggles real? Their struggle is, as you know, I saw it in one episode of Karan Johar's show, where one young actress said her struggle was that her father never got to come on Karan Johar's show. So look, I understand, because what level ही thinking की वो है ना, वो बेचारे वो struggle ही है,
उनका struggle ही वही है,
struggle है. अब वो उस बेचारी की गलती नहीं है, वो उस बेचारी का struggle ही वो है. I know one person who was very upset. Nepo kid, politician's kid. क्या हुआ यार, बिजनेस क्लास में सीट नहीं थी. अब वो उसका स्ट्रगल है बेचारे का, क्योंकि उसको लाइन में खड़ा रहना पड़ा, उसको प्रायोरिटी बोर्डिंग नहीं मिली, उसको इकोनॉमी में जाना पड़ा. वो उसकी स्ट्रगल, दैट्स अ रियल स्ट्रगल. But can that struggle be effective in a country like India? That is what we have to accept. There are people who are ready to go in a bus holding that flag. Why is that kid not getting an opportunity? That is the question that is to be asked. I'm not mocking anyone. I also have a young son and I want the best for him as well. I want to send him to the best school. I want him to have the best in life. But it can't happen at the cost of another meritocratic person.
And it can't happen in a public service job, which is a politician's job, really.
It is public service. So it must. In fact, when I am in government, I will, even in Bollywood, which I'm very clear about, Bollywood is in the film industry, the government must have a policy that if you have absolute newcomers as actors or actresses, then why can't the government give them a tax break or have a policy where they get interest at a lower rate for the movie to be made, so they get the same opportunity as a star kid.
That's a nice thought, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying star kids are not talented. Alia Bhatt is talented. Ranbir Kapoor is talented. Aryan Khan is phenomenally talented. I believe his series or whatever the movie he's made is doing extremely well. I'm not saying they're not talented. All I'm saying is it is relatively easier for them to get an opening. Therefore, the right to equality must be for everybody. So why not the government come up with a scheme that, okay, we'll give you a tax break if you come with absolute newcomers. That encourages producers to see beyond their comfort zone. Right. Why can't, because Bollywood also is public, right? It's also public service in a way. So why not? And then the market.
But then market forces act more proactively in terms of a Bollywood. You have a litany of failed failed star kids.
Why does that happen? I'll explain. Because in a Bollywood, the choice is Aditi and Tehseen whether they'll buy that ticket or they'll watch that series on any of the OTT platforms. In a political party, what happens is, let's take the two political parties, Congress and BJP. At their worst, the BJP in 2009 and the Congress in 2019. At their worst, they have about 20% vote. At their worst, these two political parties. So, कोई भी candidate हो, आपने आपके कैमरामैन को वो 20% तो आएगा ही ना. तो the market forces don't act. These guys are not winning because they are talented. They are winning because they have that political party winning it. That number substantially goes up in regional parties. So a DMK will get that much extra vote bank, say about 30% minimum in Tamil Nadu, or the Muftis or the Abdullahs will get that much in Kashmir, or the Badals will get that much in Punjab. वो होगा ही होगा because वो उनका vote bank है.
Let me just circle back and just come to a last question. And because you're a Congress supporter, therefore I ask you this question. In terms of perception, however, when BJP blames or BJP rakes up a Rahul Gandhi name in response to a Manish Tewari tweet on Nepo kids, a lot of India sort of tends to agree in terms of perception. In terms of perception, how does Congress deal with this perception problem of being a completely Gandhi-led family?
The problem with the Congress is its communication department. It is so bad, so bad. I mean, they are so bad in communicating even today. What the Congress needs to do, I mean, if I was defending the Congress, is I would say, hey, the last 40 years, you know, had a Gandhi as a prime minister. But kitne Congress spokespersons ko ye baat bhi pata hai? In the 120 odd year history of the Congress, plus, the Gandhi's total collective leadership has been about 40 years. The rest have been outside presidents. Kitne Congress spokespersons ko pata hai? Congress itself plays on. So, you know, they themselves shoot themselves in the foot by not knowing these facts. So, that is also a perceptional problem that the Congress creates for itself. Again, the Congress also has in its group around the leadership of the Congress, sycophants. So, they only want to say what they think the leadership wants to hear, which may not actually be true. So, that sycophancy also pisses off people.
Got it. Okay, so it's more a perception problem which is self-perpetuating in a way from within the Congress because of the sycophancy possibly that exists, and of course again you talked about the lack of knowledge and lack of good communication strategy.
Yeah, now look, let's take practical examples. When Mrs. Gandhi wanted to step down, Rahul Gandhi was clear. This is the second time after Rahul Gandhi had stepped down. He was extremely clear nobody from the Gandhi family would be the president. He was very clear. We know that this happened at CWC. Nobody wanted to be president. So then they forced Mrs. Gandhi to become interim president. फिर वो बनता है कि आपके dynasty चल रही है. So in that also there is a problem. Now again, the CWC should also be an elected body. Now I'm not defending the CWC and defending the Gandhis. The CWC is also not an elected body. Once it's an elected body, you will have talented people who have ambition. Why is it in India? And this is another thing we should dwell on. Why is it that it is seen bad to have ambition in India? In Indian politics.
That's actually, it's bad to have ambition in India in any sector.
And I don't get it because Indianism, by and large, encourages the worldly life and the spiritual life. If you even see the way our epics are, we've encouraged, we don't shun responsibility towards our worldly life. So why, the other day, and this is just yesterday, it's a little funny thing I'll share. I was with a Congress spokesperson on a debate and anchor asked a tricky question. She said, after 80 years, Congress is having a CWC in Bihar. You had forgotten Bihar, now you're only doing politics. And the Congress spokesperson, she was so defensive. She said, nahi, hum to politics nahi karenge, ye nahi karenge. And I was like, एक second, बिल्कुल political party, मैं इस party को vote करता हूँ. Politics करने के लिए और वहाँ इसीलिए कर रहे हैं क्योंकि चुनाव है. उसमें गलत क्या है? What is wrong? Why do you shun away from the fact that you're a political party? You will have political ambitions.
And you need to have an outreach to voters, wherever they are voting.
क्या गलत है उसमें? और आप पॉलिटिक्स करोगे, छाती ठोककर करोगे, गलत. तो मुझे बनना है एमपी, बनना है तो बनना है. Why is it wrong to have this ambition? नहीं, मुझे कुछ नहीं करना है, सिर्फ जनता की सेवा करना है. भाई तो आप एनजीओ शुरू करो एनजीओ शुरू. वो कर रहे हैं ना सोनम, वो क्या क्या कर रहा है पता नहीं, बट वो करो ना एनजीओ. Politics is meant to do politics. बिल्कुल पॉलिटिक्स करो.
पर meritocracy के साथ करो, and therefore those changes that we were talking about are needed. But thank you so much, Tehseen,
Thank
for
you.
talking. So that's this episode of Trending with Tehseen. Thank you. We'll meet you again next week, same time.